This is a place where we can gather to share deeply about our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations, and our grief while being guided by the four paths of creation spirituality. During our time together, we will honor each other, ourselves, our ancestors, the earth, and the universe. We will be looking at our lives and the world we live in through the lens of creation spirituality. We will spend time discussing and examining current issues and ideas as presented in the talks given at our May 2025 virtual gathering. All are welcome. We are an open and inclusive community. And we invite you to participate in ways that feel comfortable. Please use the gallery view as it is the best way to see everyone. And use your chat button at the bottom of the screen if you have any questions, responses, or comments. We'll go about 90 minutes today, and our team members are Patty, me, Lori, Margie, Cheryl, Carolyn, and Michael. Michael and Margie are not with us tonight, but they are still definitely part of our team. Creation spirituality is the age-old tradition of listening to the story of the spirit told by creation that embodies it. We listen through deep communion with nature. We listen to the voices of mystics from all spiritual traditions, such as Rumi, Buddha, Hildegard, Black Elk, and Jesus. And our fifth tradition is the month of May, we do the fifth principle. Our inner work can be understood as a fourfold journey involving awe, delight, amazement, known as the via positiva, uncertainty, darkness, suffering, letting go, that's the via negativa, birthing, creativity, passion, via creativa, justice, healing, celebration, via transformativa. We weave through these paths like a spiral danced, not a ladder climbed. And I'll turn it over to Patty. You're muted, Patty.
Thanks. Tonight, we're going to replay a video that Matt Fox gave us a talk at the virtual gathering we had last year. And we planned this out months ago, not realizing that Matt's talk, which addresses the Antichrist, that is, the presence of evil in our society and how to deal with it, not realizing that he also, in that same talk, would talk about St. John of the Cross. And this is the month in which Matt's book on John of the Cross has been announced for publication, and it's going to be released in November, and it's available for us to access ordering at this present time. So we're just thrilled that Matt will be joining us after the video to give us a live update on the strategies we can use that are in line with the strength that John of the Cross found in the light of a heck of a lot more oppression than actually I realize that we are dealing with. So thank you very much. I'm glad to see all of you who have come to join us. So Lori will.
We're going to start by joining the circle. If we were in the same physical setting, we would take a few moments to introduce ourselves. This way provides a virtual way for us to acknowledge who is in the circle and to make each other feel welcome. So, as a way of starting, let's join together by saying the name you wish to be called, the pronouns you would like used to refer to you, where on the planet you are speaking from, and the names of the ancestors who live or have lived on the land on which you reside today. And if you need help knowing what that land is, you can go to native-land.ca and enter your location, and it will tell you who lived on the land before you. And so we're going to do this, I guess, in popcorn style. I'll introduce myself and then call on another person, and then we'll go around and each of us will get introduced that way. I'm Lori Crockett. I live in Winchester, Virginia, on the land of the Shawnee and the Manahoac tribes. My pronouns are she and her. And welcome, and I will turn it over to Patty.
I'm Patty McGrath, she, her. I live on the land of the Manahoac and the Piscataway Conoy peoples. And I will turn it over to Carolyn.
Thank you, Patty. I'm Carolyn, and I'm from Alameda, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. My pronouns are Kikin, and this is the land of the Ohlone peoples. So, Gertie, I'm going to ask you to speak up now if you can.
Yeah, I'm Gertie, Josh, and Shusha here, and we're on the land of the Gwingwin peoples in Victoria, British Columbia.
And Joyce Rame in Fort Myers, Florida. It's the land of the Calusa Indians.
Sherry Tyree on Cape Cod, the land of the Wampanoag, she, her.
Peggy McManus, Nanaimo, British Columbia, on the land of the Nanaimo people.
I'm Galen Brandt, she, her. I'm in New Jersey, land of the Lenape.
I'm Kevin Ryan from Perth in Western Australia, and I live on the land of the Noongar Whadjuk people.
I'm Tom Niebuhr, Central Illinois, he, him, in the land of the Kickapoo.
Hi, I'm Susan. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling in from Fort Mill, South Carolina, land of the Catawba Indian Nation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cheryl, and I'm in Edmonds, Washington, just north of Seattle. And this is the land of the Coast Salish people. That's the Snoqualmie, Suquamish, and Duwamish.
Hi, I'm Kathy Marie. I'm on the North Shore of Boston in Massachusetts, and I believe it's the land of the something like Nomkiag.
I'm Susan Muffson. I'm in New York City, the land of the Lenape.
I'm Ellen Kennedy. I'm in Newbury, Massachusetts, and the land of the Pennacook.
Hello, I'm Stephanie, she, her. I'm in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I'm on the land of the Tainui people.
I'm Anne Marie Lamoro. Oh, excuse me. Did I come out of turn?
You're fine.
I'm she and her. I was trying to just do native land and I couldn't find. I'm technically challenged. I have a tremor. So I'm in Maryland, in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and I'll try to get somebody to help me do that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Michelle McFadden. I live, she, her, live on the land of the Yavapai, Apache, Hopi, and Diné people.
I'm David. I also live in Prescott. I'm he, him. I was real tempted to say I was somewhere other than Prescott, just for funny. And we're on the land of the Yavapai people, the Apache, and the Hohokam.
Welcome.
I'm Mary Jo Meadow, Forest Lake, Minnesota, land of various of the Dakota peoples.
Welcome. We've gotten everybody, right?
Hello, I'm Deidre Combs. It's so great to see you all. I identify as she, her.
I am in Bozeman, Montana, the land of the Northern Cheyenne, Crow, Blackfoot, and Salish people. So good to see you.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Robert, and I'm in southeastern Michigan, and I believe it's the land of the Algonquin.
Sorry, I'm Mary Franklin, and I live in Walnut Creek, California, on the land of the Saklan Indians.
Welcome. Okay, if we've all welcomed ourselves, I'd like to ask you to take a minute to look around this virtual circle using the gaze of Darshan, making eye contact with the holiness in each other. Darshan is the loving gaze that restores both the giver and the receiver.
Can you stop the sharing so we can see each other?
If you move the line between the slideshow and the pictures, you'll get to see everyone.
So just expand your gallery and
That'll,
minimize the slideshow.
there should be a vertical line.
Oh, got it.
Okay,
Got it.
great. Just move it over.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining our circle. You are welcome in this circle. You are welcome, whoever you are, however you identify yourself racially, whoever your people are, wherever you are from, and with whatever beliefs guide the purpose of your life. Aho. We're going to take a moment now to move more deeply into our connection with our Creator or Source. You're invited to take a few small, slow, deep breaths. Invite your body to relax and to soften anything that has become too tight within. Shake yourself out a bit. Become more comfortable in your skin. Follow the rising and falling of your breath. Center into your personal rhythm. Invite yourself in your own way to turn your awareness toward the vital life force that is within us and all around us, and the vital love force that binds the universe together. Hold a moment in stillness with me. Let the stillness surround you. Invite yourself to become present to the deep reservoir of life that resides in this stillness. As a symbol of this renewed connection with our Creator, if it feels comfortable to you, we invite you to light a candle. You can light a real candle, or hold the picture of a candle, or find a picture of a candle on your cell phone, or even just imagine your thumb is a candle and imagine lighting it. All of these lights remind us of the one light, the first light, our connection to the first beginning, the great flaring forth of creation. We now acknowledge this light and remember that everything in the known universe has its origin in a single point of light. We all stand together in the light of creation. At this time, we will honor the directions together. You can remain seated or you can stand so that you can turn around as we do this. Please now turn to the east or face your intention toward the east. As we face the east, we honor the dawning of the new day, a day of possibilities. We honor the element of air, and we honor all the teachers and ancestors of the east. Now, please turn to the south or face your intention to the south. As we face the south, we honor the fullness of the day, the fruits of our actions, and all that is coming into being. We honor the element of fire, and we honor all the teachers and ancestors from the south. Now, please turn to the west or face your intention to the west. We honor the dimming of the day, the closing of our labors, and our movement toward rest. We honor the element of water, and we honor all the teachers and ancestors from the west. Now, please turn to the north or face your intention to the north. As we face the north, we honor the darkness of the night and the shining of the stars, the time of resting and dreaming. We honor the element of earth, and we honor all the teachers and ancestors of the north. Now, please turn to face the heavens and the skies above us. As we look above, we honor the radiance of the heavens, the stars, the planets, and the unfolding universe. We honor Creator that fills us with inspiration. Now, please turn to face the earth below or face your intention toward all that is below. As we look below, we honor the firmness of the earth, our mother, and the rich brown soil that is life-giving. We honor Creator that grounds and holds us. Now, please turn your focus inward and toward all that is within you. As you look inward, we honor the fire of the human heart. We honor Creator that fills us with compassion. As we have honored the 7 sacred directions and our Creator, let us remember we are all part of this vast universe around us and within us, and our home is in our Creator as we journey through this life. Thank you. Aho. And I will turn it over to Patty.
We're going to have a body prayer that is a little bit of a tongue twister, but I think it embraces the message of what got John of the Cross through really, really bad times. And that was that he had a mystical connection to the divine that could not be dampened by torture or imprisonment or hatred of his colleagues, of his fellow members of the religious order that he belonged to. And some people have described that, I mean, he's described as a mystic, by the words luminous, love, and light. And those 3 words are all put together in the one real line of this chant. It's very, very simple. Luminous, love, light. So please say those 3 words together. Luminous, love,
Luminous,
light.
love, and light.
Okay. Luminous, love, light. Again, luminous,
Luminous,
love,
love,
light.
and light.
Okay. And maybe Carolyn can try to mute yourselves because we'll all be singing against each other if we don't do that. Okay. So luminous love light is the tongue twister in this one-line song that we're going to sing. And I'll sing it, and then you can sing it after me. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. So it's opening up. That's the prayer we really would have, is to become more opened to really what is burning in front of us, this love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. So why don't you try to sing that? I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. Try to sing that. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. Sing it again together. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. And then the chorus is really simple. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. So we sing the first line twice, and then we sing the chorus 4 times. And you're welcome to put any gestures your heart desires with this song. The important thing is to feel embodied and to address the mystery of what happens when we let go of our plans, maybe our energy, and rely on some other energy that appears when it's needed. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll turn it over to Carolyn.
Thank you, Lori. And so now we've all gathered together and we've come as we are into this space. We've taken stock of where we are, and now we want to take a moment of stillness to share with each other, to notice what you are bringing into the circle and actually put that into our circle and share that. We'll be using the chat box for this sharing, and some of our responses will be read, not all of them, as we will, I think, run out of time, but please use the chat box for this sharing as we go through these 4 circles here. There are 4 paths. And so now, in reflecting on the last 4 weeks since we last got together, where have you experienced awe? Where have you experienced wonder or gratitude this week? Again, use the chat box for this naming.
Thinking of my granddaughter, Clarissa, stationed in the Mideast. Friendship. I experience awe every morning before dawn when I greet the moon, stars, trees, and Mother Earth with gratitude. Spring coming to Bozeman, a new life. Watching a bird making a nest. Actors making my words sing. Every morning when I do my morning prayers to the 6 directions taught to me by Jose Hobde on our faculty at University of Creation Spirituality. Retreat set in a beloved nature setting. The red-shouldered hawk sat on the feeder post in front of my kitchen window today. Just stayed there. Watching a robin bathing in a pond. the return of hummingbirds and orioles. Being with all of you, beloveds from creation spirituality communities.
Well, the Via Positiva doesn't have the last word. Not sure if it had the first word or where it is, but we all experience all of it in a spiraling, circling fashion. And so we all are so acquainted as well with the Via Negativa, have so many opportunities in our lives right now to see it being exercised right out in front of us in bold opening. And so now we want to take time to contemplate that moments when we have experienced grief, anxiety, worry, that Via Negativa seizing us. And again, use the chat box for this sharing.
Recent cancer diagnosis. Difficulty connecting with my son. Andy, beloved husband of 67 years, who died 9 months ago. Feeling the pain of the innocent people suffering from our bombing and attacks. Worrying about my youngest brother's chemo treatments. Will they be successful? So much war. We can't afford food, education, because we have to war. I'll add in the beginning of the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Unsupreme Court. It's really hard to be in 7th and 8th grade social studies classes when we're supposed to be teaching them about justice. And we have to tell them about this. Bullying. I can't read that. Atrocities? Coming from the Thank you. Coming from the administration. Sorrow for the people of Cuba. Reducing access to family planning for the poor. Hearing about execution of person by nitrogen gas.
Well, our creativity certainly does express itself in different ways, and it's expressed in the negative ways as well, as we see about this nitrogen gas. But in the midst of so much change, we are being called to give birth to new creations. And so again, using the chat box, please name 1 or 2 places where you are being called to give and to create. And this is also a place where you can mention others who are giving birth to new things and express your support for them.
To continue the grief of the Via Negativa, I will just add in from the chat the loss of environmental protections. And turning to Via Creativa, I am being inspired to write a novel. And another, return of my muse for writing poetry. Seeing one of my plays included in a festival. Embodiment with the earth as an ongoing practice. Being of service to the world. Whoever I am called, sending loving kindness to all. Being inspired to give a sermon on embracing my brother trees. The creativity of the Ukraine people to utilize drones and markedly reduce loss of life, hoping this will cause the war between Ukraine and Russia to be done soon. Planning for this year's Creation Spirituality Gathering in October in St. Louis. Creating an alumni network for and with State Department Leadership Program alumni whose programs have been canceled.
And now moving into the Via Transformativa. This is a time and a place where we can look at the transformation taking place in ourselves and in the people around us. It's also a place to name the transformation taking place in our culture, our earth, our social institutions, and also our deepest understanding. And lastly, to include shout out to those transformers who have particularly inspired us. Again, please use the chat box.
No Kings and May Day and all other protests. Both of us being peacekeepers and at pro-democracy rallies. Matt's daily meditations. Being instrumental in the hiring of a new minister who is an expert speaker on transformation and action to bring about change. So inspired by the non-human animals encouraging us humans to transform. Watching young YouTubers calling out the corrupt politicians. Leaning into the unknown and what might be emerging. So grateful for the wisdom taught by Matt Fox and the faculty he gathered at University of Creation Spirituality. Missing Jeremy Taylor, a very special dream guide. Doing our best to stay calm in the midst of chaos.
And in wrapping the four paths up, now let's gather together in prayer. Infinite love, eternal source, never-ending wisdom. Our physical being is born of stardust. Our immortal being lives in the breath of our Creator. We are the beloved children of the One. You hold and welcome us as we are, your blessed and beloved creation. You join us in times when we are filled with awe, wonder, or gratitude. You comfort and connect with us when we feel alone through loss. And you inspire us to bring forth essential medicine for the soul in offering creativity that heals and rejuvenates us. And you call us to justice making, to live beyond ourselves in service to the communities that we are a part of. You indeed embrace us just as we are in this moment, and we give thanks. Blessed be. Aho, Amen. Patty?
Okay. No new words. This is it again. And just try to dig down as deep as you can to reach out for that luminous love light. It's there. So we'll sing it through 3 times. First line is twice. The chorus is 4 times. Twice, 4 times, twice, 4 times. Okay. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. Last time. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. Blessed be the love light.
Lori, you're muted.
So now we're going to play the video that Matt, the address he gave us last May. And it will cover two things, two books, one of which was published, The Trump and the MAGA Movement as Antichrist. And doing some research, I found out that there are others who have written about Trump as the Antichrist. I was surprised at that. So, of course, I think Matt's book is a lot more scholarly and persuasive. But I do have to, I'm curious. I'm going to look up the other ones. And then The Beloved Will Guide You, his Life of St. John of the Cross, will be published in November of this year, but it will be available now for pre-order. And apparently pre-orders are really important for publishers to gauge how much support, financial support they're going to give for the promotion of a book. So pre-ordering would be an important support for Matt in this book. So now Lori hopefully will be able to hear the video. Let's see.
See Shelley, but I do not hear her.
I'll pause it well. We had it all straight. Showtime Spa. Weren't hearing it, Patty?
No.
No?
No.
You have to enhance the video and enhance the sound.
I'm going to have to take this down. Oh.
Gertie, you might want to say that again.
Before you share, you have to enhance the video and enhance the sound.
Which we had done, and then
Gertie, they have changed the location and the naming of the controls in Zoom.
Yes, it's on the
Okay.
right-hand side.
More. Yeah, under
You have to
more.
click on those.
Pause, transcript breakout. Share computer sound. That's
Right,
what's
that-
supposed to be on. That was there this time. Okay, so now share the PowerPoint.
Video that you're sharing, not a PowerPoint.
Well, it's a PowerPoint.
we are really pleased to have Matthew Fox with us. Matthew Fox is this generation's most powerful voice, sharing wisdom born in the wonderment of our earliest human ancestors, rooted in ancient Judeo-Christian tradition and supported by leading-edge science, bearing witness for social, environmental, and gender justice. Mirabai Starr says, "There is not another man on the planet who has championed the sacred feminine with a fraction of the wisdom, scholarship, creative fire, and holy chutzpah as Matthew Fox." Joanna Macy says, "For me, in today's world, the wise and eloquent presence of Matthew Fox is ever again a source of wonder and gratitude." We're grateful that you are with us this evening. Please take it away, Matthew.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone at CSC for creating this platform, giving us this opportunity, looking over your many speakers. It's very rich and a lot of talent there. And I appreciated very much the presentation that just finished with Skylar on the Order of the Sacred Earth. You did a great job. So good to see a new generation stepping up and contributing in that way. So I was asked to talk about the Antichrist and what's after the Antichrist. So I'm essentially beginning with a presumption that most of you may be familiar with my book on the Antichrist, with a naughty title, Trump and the Mega Movement as Antichrist, which came out this fall, just in time for the election. Of course, what that word is about, and as I point out, I myself have always steered away from that apocalyptic language because, frankly, the far right had kind of hijacked it, kidnapped it, and uses it a lot. And that did not appeal to me. But it came to me in a religious experience I had, really, a spiritual experience last summer, last June. And I was with some of our faculty and teaching in Orvieto, Italy, a medieval town that was very important to Thomas Aquinas, who taught there a lot. And I visited the cathedral and with an Italian friend who just put me in front of this giant fresco, didn't say a word. And I just stared at it. Let's show the picture, Dennis. I just stared at this picture and I said out loud, "It feels like Donald Trump." And then I looked at the title of the picture and it said Antichrist, Deeds and Preaching. And it really is an amazing painting. It's so amazing that Sigmund Freud visited on 3 separate occasions just to study it. He was absolutely mesmerized by this painting. It was his favorite painting in the whole world when Freud was into art. But when I look at it now, the painter is down in the left-hand corner, the blonde fellow in the left-hand corner. Next to him is Fra Angelico, Dominican artist who painted something in that particular chapel also. But this painting, one thing I think of when I look at it now is the fellows in black in the rear. They look to me like Musk's men who have been invading your and my Social Security numbers and addresses and all those other things. Previously, people have identified them as the Ku Klux Klan and black, etc. So there's a lot going on in this picture. There's 172 different figures, but of course the center is the devil speaking in the eye of the Antichrist, who of course is pointing to himself. The Antichrist is always narcissistic and always lies. Satan is the father of lies. So let's go to the close-up picture of this painting, where we see the devil whispering in the ear of the Antichrist. I've since learned that in Arabic, the word Satan means whisperer. And that's exactly what's going on here. Satan is whispering in his ear, And the Antichrist points at himself. But notice they share the same left hand. So interesting. They're sharing the same left hand. And there's booty at the bottom. Antichrists are really good at making a lot of money. Oh, and if you look at that picture, can you back it up again? I'm sorry I didn't mention how much violence is going on in the crowd. Now, there are some famous people in the crowd. Christopher Columbus is identified there. He's one of the people listening. And remember, he had only set sail in 1492, and this painting was done in 1501. So less than 10 years later, he's a big shot. But notice on the left at the bottom, there's a guy choking another person. There are others who are bleeding and so forth. And there are other people above them on the ground being beaten up. There are even some people being raised from the dead or from sickness because the Antichrist has powers. The Antichrist is not without power. So all this is being said, that there's violence. This Antichrist brings up violence, and a lot of people are curious. And in the one group behind the Antichrist, those are Dominicans and other friars who are arguing about what this fellow is saying. Okay, let's move on now so you see what the Antichrist stands for is evil. It's an archetype for evil. And my point is that we have this in our tradition, that the inability for organized religion in our day to talk about evil is a self-scandalous. The organized institutional religion has put so much effort into sin, so much talk into sin, that it's not even capable of talking about evil. At least it's not doing it enough. So the other picture is from Hildegard of Bingen. She too painted the Antichrist. So what I'm saying is that in our tradition, instead of people just saying, oh, what's happening is so awful. Oh, what's happening is giving me a headache. Oh, there's something bad every day. Well, we have an archetype for evil, and it is the Antichrist. And as I have a chapter in my book on Christ, and then the next chapter is on Antichrist. Obviously, Christ stands for compassion. The Antichrist doesn't. It stands for the opposite. So here is a powerful 3 pictures from Hildegard. Left-hand corner at the top are these animals that she identifies. One is greed. One is the lust for power and the lust for war. And what are they doing? They have ropes in their mouth because they are unraveling the order of the universe and the order of society. That's what injustice does, and that's what the Antichrist does with lies and with violence and with speaking. In the right-hand upper corner, of course, is the Christ representing peace and justice and bringing together the mirror wall where we are images of God, along with the wall of practicality. So those 2 important theological teachings. Now in the bottom picture, you have Mother Church on the left, red and white thighs. Hildegard says, is blood. She's bleeding. Why? Because the Antichrist has invaded her. So you have that picture of a monster with red eyes, and she says, teeth of metal in the left-hand corner, and also a big penis, which I think represents patriarchy, unconsciously in Hildegard's drawing. And then you look at this like there's a video. There's something happening. Then you have the same beast has flown and looks like a B-1 bomber. And she says that is a pile of dung. There's another word for it. And it stinks up everything. So the group of human beings below are holding their nose and it's stinking up everything. And it's destroying society. But that's what the Antichrist does. It spreads BS, literally, according to Hildegard's drawing. So that's just a part of our ancestors' efforts to name evil. St. Paul says that our struggle is against powers and principalities. Powers and principalities are angels, or what the indigenous people call spirits. So evil is not just mistakes on the part of our neighbor. It is the gathering of energy and spirits and power to destroy. I learned this from Buck Ghosthorst when he said to me one time, my Lakota friend and teacher, he said, fear is a door in the heart that lets evil spirits in. Fear is a door in the heart that lets evil spirits in. So all good prayer, he said, is strengthening your heart to keep fear outside the door so it does not enter the heart and bring all these evil spirits with it. The ones that Hildegard painted: greed, power, more greed, and warlikeness, etc., and lies. Now, the way I see it is that each of our chakras is a door. We don't have time to go into that, but I treat that in my first book on evil, where I go through the 7 chakras and the 7 capital sins and show the alliance there when their chakra is off center. The opposite of evil is not good. The opposite of good is bad. The opposite of evil is the sacred. And I was glad to hear the previous speaker speak to the sacred, as in the term, the order of the sacred earth. So spirit, the spirit that is behind the Christ who is the door, is a part of the strengthening energy that we are given to take on the powers of evil. Now, I am currently writing a book on the Dark Night and the poetry of St. John the Cross, because I think we're living through a triple dark night today as a species. The dark night of society, our country, democracy, is definitely on the wane. That's difficult for the soul. So the dark night of the soul being attacked by that. And then the third dark night is, of course, the dark night of Mother Earth, the global warming that is rendering Mother Earth so ill. So we're living in a time of a triple dark night. So that's why I wanted to write a book on John the Cross, because he's given credit for being the author, if you will, of that archetype. But in fact, he's not alone. Others have preceded him, such as Mechtilde Magdeburg in the 13th century. John lived in the 16th century. She says, there comes a time when both body and soul enter into such a vast darkness that one loses light and consciousness and knows nothing more of God's intimacy. At such a time when the light of the lantern and the beauty of the lantern, the light of the lantern burns out and the beauty of the lantern can no longer be seen. With longing and distress, we are reminded of our nothingness. She goes on and talks about, I am hunted, captured, bound, wounded so terribly that I can never be healed. Now, Mechtilde was a Beguine in the 13th century, a member of the women's movement. And she ends it with this powerful poem. Love the nothing, flee the self, stand alone. Seek help from no one, let your being be quiet. Be free from the bondage of all things. Free those who are bound, give exhortation to the free, care for the sick, but dwell alone. When you drink the waters of sorrow, you shall kindle the fire of love with the match of perseverance. This is the way to dwell in the desert. And both John the Cross and Meister Eckhart and others talk about the Via Negativa as a desert. So it's a powerful poem, and in many ways, it summarizes all of John the Cross's teachings. So how do we combat evil? That's the next step here. It's one thing to name it. It's very important to name it, like the Antichrist names it. Instead of running from it, denying, or just getting mushy about it, evil is powerful, and it goes where power is, whether that be the Supreme Court, or religious headquarters, or Wall Street, Pentagon, it goes to places where there's power, and evil is very smart. But one of the amazing things I learned in John the Cross is, if you look at his three great poems, the Canticle, written in prison when he was being tortured, most of it was written there, the last few stanzas not, but it's 40 stanzas long. It's a long poem. He had to memorize it because he didn't have any paper and pencil for most of his time there. Only at the end did someone give him paper. But then The Dark Night, which is a short poem about his escape from prison, and then his flame, living flame of love. All of them end in they're very sensual. In fact, in Mirrored by Stars, a new translation of Dark Night of the Soul, the Los Angeles Times says, this is not only beautiful, it is remarkably sensual. Yes, John's poetry has held its own for 500 years in the history of the Spanish language as a high point of poetry and language and of sensuality. So, oh dear. So the number one thing, I spoke about it in the last chapter, in the title of the last chapter of my archetype book. The number one thing is the via positiva, to drink at that well. As I said, we have to become camels. We're going across the desert. So you have to stop at that oasis of the via positiva. What do we love in life? What is our beloved? And that's the whole theme of John's first and longest poem, the one done in prison. It opens with the whole question of, where is my beloved? My beloved has abandoned me. But he ends, well, he doesn't really end, but the crescendo of it is in this passage where he says, my beloved is the mountains, the lonely wooded valleys, the strange and distant islands, the rivers sounding echoes above, the whispering breezes tickling the skin with love. My beloved is a quiet and tranquil night, the stillness that precedes the coming dawn, the silent music, the sounding solitude, the meal that refreshes and arouses love. His whole poem, which is an echo of the Song of Songs, which in John's day was forbidden to be taught by theologians, by the Inquisition. So he created his own Song of Songs. That's what the Canticle is. And which itself is a political act and an artistic act. And of course, his being locked up in the prison was a via transformativa, because he and Teresa were trying to wage a reform, not only of their order, but therefore of the church itself in Spain. And they got themselves in a lot of trouble. So the via positiva plays a huge role in John's journey, as does the via transformativa, which got him in all his trouble in the first place. And of course, the via creativa, because he dealt with his injuries through his creativity, his poetry, his powerful poetry. People are still being healed by his poetry. But we have this story that The Dark Night is all about purgation. It isn't. If you read the poem, which is short, only 8 stanzas, it's about love, and it ends in a scene in bed. And all his poetry ends that way. It's about lovemaking with the beloved. So the question is, who is our beloved? And you can see that John goes to creation. He's thoroughly creation-centered. But his theology wasn't, because he only had purgation, illumination, union as a theological structure to think about his own poetry. And that's why his commentaries are weak, terribly weak compared to his poetry. But the 4 paths of grace spirituality absolutely bring alive his real message in his poetry. And in my commentaries and in the poems that I also translate, he really comes alive that way. And you see the full picture, whereas he focuses so much on the purgation in his commentaries. But he himself says, say nothing of every poet who's ever translated his poems, to avoid the commentary. The poets say that, and he says, you can forget the commentary and just read the poetry. So I'm in good company there. So let me close with his final stanza in his longest poem, The Canticle, because it's 40 stanzas long, and it is about this journey looking for his beloved. And it's absolutely Creation-centered. He's looking in all the parts of the land. And I just read to you his statement about who his beloved is, the mountains and so forth. But here's how he ends. All are banished. Even evil Aminadab has vanished. Aminadab is another name for Satan. Now the siege is ending. Peace is pending. The cavalry, sighting waters, is descending. Nothing further needs defending. I just love how that poem ends. And I love, frankly, how I translated it. But what you have is the cavalry, you see. He's run into them too. So you've got all this masculine energy. But finally, there's been this marriage of the yin, the waters. The cavalry is descending to the feminine. And John had a very strong mother and a very strong presence of a strong women in his life, including Teresa of Avila. He was very at home with the divine feminine because his mother was a widow when he was a child. At 3 years old, he lost his father. So you have this thing happening at the culmination of his poem of the Canticle, that there is the peace is pending. The cavalry sighting waters is descending. Nothing further needs defending. So, like the end of his Dark Night poem, peace is coming in the door. And that, I think, is a promise of what we're capable of as human beings. We can take on the forces of evil and call them what they are and still carry the day in favor of a Christ energy, a peace energy, and a reconciliation, including a reconciliation of the feminine and the masculine, the yang energy of a cavalry and the yin energy of the waters. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a word that we needed today in ways that I know I was not even able to anticipate, and I'm very grateful. So
now Matt has joined us, and I'm hoping that Lori is going to be able to spotlight Matt.
Yes. And what you might want to do is drag your vertical line in the center over so that all that you see is gallery and you don't have to look at the video at the screen of the snapshot of the slides. You'll just see Matt as soon as I highlight him. There you are, Matt. I see you. And welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Good to be with you all. So, how much time do we have?
Well, you have as much time as you want. We were hoping for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because you already you presented the dilemma that John had. I would love to hear more about that. And you even mentioned the Supreme Court in that talk, Matt. Crying out loud. I mean, that was so prescient. It really was. So take it away. I can't wait to get my hands on this book.
Just 2 days ago, I wrote, the day after the horrendous decision, I wrote a daily meditation on SCOTUS as Antichrist. And looking just at the title of the book, Trump and the MAGA movement. And the point is that SCOTUS is a major player in the MAGA movement. There's just no question. They've utterly sold their soul to, contrary to what Chief Justice Roberts said at his original hearing before the Senate when he was being made Chief Justice. He said, we're nothing but empires. We're totally neutral. We're nothing but empires. But as a major article that I talk about in tomorrow's daily meditation in the video, I share this major article from Rolling Stone, I think it was, on how Roberts is a history of Roberts' career, and he's been anything but neutral. And he was intending to destroy the 1965 Voting Rights Act from the beginning. So, yes, it is a prime example of evil and therefore Antichrist. So, one point I made there in the section we just saw was how other poets have been turned off by John's commentaries on his own poems. And I want to be more specific here. I want to share with you something, what they've said about those. Gerald Brennan, who wrote some fine translations and a lot of research behind John the Cross, he says, John's commentaries are deeply disappointing. Although now and then may come on something that throws light on a passage, most of the interpretations drag down the text of the poem and destroy its reverberations. That's not a very good review of John's commentaries on his poems. They have the result, he says, have the effect of eviscerating the poem because they reduce it to allegory. The very failure of his explanation proves to us what we had already guessed, that the canticle is only allegorical in a very loose sense. Its intimate structure is both deeper and more complex. Now, that's just one of the great poets who have translated John the Cross over the years. Here's another one. Poet Jorge Gullion. John's poem is not heightened. The value of John's poems is not heightened by being turned toward the conceptual. And that's, of course, what he does in his commentaries. He goes into theological concepts. But you have to understand his theology of the 16th century was purgation, illumination, union. That's what he applies to his poems. Another translator, Willis Barnstone, says John's commentaries are often distant, if not far-fetched, and capable of distorting the poems themselves. While the commentaries depend on the poems do not depend on the commentaries and are often distorted by them. It is not necessary to know the commentaries in order to understand the poems. One can read them with pleasure, but they are no more necessary to the autonomous poems than another author's commentaries on them might be. So that's a door for me to move in, as John's commentaries are better than anyone else's commentaries. So I move in with the four paths, and I think they absolutely explode and come alive and set fire to the poems. And they give the poetry the primary emphasis, which it clearly was John and all these commentators, but it has not been to theologians for 500 years. They've been interpreting it through the three paths of Plotinus, purgation, illumination, and union. Now, I also address the question, why did John overdo the purgation emphasis, besides that he had bad theology going for him? It's number one, purgation, illumination, union in the old three-path version. I think it's just PTSD. He suffered so much, anyone would, in prison, being tortured daily by his own brothers, not knowing if he'd survive at all. In fact, when he escaped, the first one to see him was a nun, because he went to the convent. He knew the women would support him. And what she said was he was nothing but skin and bones. I couldn't believe he was alive, she said. And he can't even talk. He didn't have the energy to talk. I mean, absolutely this close to death when he escaped. So PTSD, of course he had what we call today PTSD. And one of the medicines for PTSD, the primary one that I know of, is to tell the story, to tell the story. A friend of mine is a psychologist who has worked for decades with indigenous people. First 7 years with the Maori in New Zealand, and then 25 years with Navajo people. And now she's working in Northern California with indigenous people. But she wrote a book and asked me to write a foreword to it on trauma and the indigenous people. It's a beautiful book. But her point is exactly that. You heal by telling the story. And so many indigenous people have kept the story in and down. And so she has permission, because they gradually learned to trust her after 25 years with the Navajo. She had permission to share some of those stories. You wouldn't believe some of the stories. For one was that the white people would take native babies and throw them to the bears. So these mothers and grandmothers and so forth had to keep these stories in for decades. And there are many other stories she tells. So the telling of the story is the primary method for healing. So John was doing that, but he kept doing it. It was because first of all, he didn't have real audience, but in his poems, he goes so much deeper. His poems are not about suffering. His poems are about, except for longing. That's the primary suffering of his great canticle poem. And that God is distant and absent. So he's longing for his beloved, you see. But and by the way, some people have said this between religion and spirituality is longing. So his great poem of longing is a poem, of course, of spirituality. But I say he got on that treadmill of purgation because of the theology and because he was in a state of PTSD. So even John says, and I'm quoting John, who can set in words that which he makes them feel, which the beloved makes them feel? Lastly, who can express that which he makes them desire? Surely no one, not even the very souls through whom he passes. It is for this reason that by means of figures, comparisons, and similes, they allow something of that. The poems allow something that which they feel to overflow in utter secret mysteries from the abundance of the Spirit, rather than explain these things rationally. And in commenting on his third great poem, The Living Flame of Love, he says, everything I say is as far from reality as is a painting from the living object represented. So I feel that we have permission here from John himself and all these other poets, commentators, and translators to introduce the four paths. And the results, I think, are really stunning. And I shared the book with a few different people and recently, and this is a response from a woman whom I greatly admire, a theologian, Christina Cleveland. She has her PhD in theology and from Drake University, but no, Duke University, and taught there for several years, but found it too left brain and quit to explore the Black Madonna. And she herself took pilgrimages to France alone. She would go to all these ancient shrines, many of them in faraway little churches from the Middle Ages and before even, that were dedicated to the Black Madonna. And she's coming out with a book this fall, which is really good. I highly recommend it, on the Black Madonna. And she responded to this book on John the Cross this way. Matthew, what a glorious, wonderful book. I've loved John since I first read Mirabai's translation about 10 years ago. And by the way, Christina is African American, and her father was an activist in the civil rights movement and close to King. But like quite a few Black pastors, he was conservative when it came to theology. And she had to divorce her parents for several years because they didn't get her pursuit of the Black Madonna. It's not, unfortunately, yet part of the Black church, but it will be with her help, I think. And I lectured several years ago at Morehouse College, MLK Jr.'s alma mater, on the Black Madonna to the faculty and staff and students. And it was the first time most of them had ever heard of the Black Madonna. She goes on, I traveled with Mirabai to Avila to study Teresa and a little bit of John. But the activist in me has always felt a bit alienated from the Spanish mystics, uncertain of how to integrate their profound wisdom into my activism. But here you have connected the dots for me! Exclamation point. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's my little blurb. Feel free to edit. So she writes, as someone, by the way, she's now started a school of the Black Madonna. And the title of her book is The Black Madonna, Icon of Resistance and Nourisher of Souls. And previously, a year ago, she wrote a book called God is a Black Woman. But she goes on. As someone whose heart burns for collective liberation, Matthew Fox's truly original exploration of St. John of the Cross invigorated my soul. Though I thought I was well acquainted with John the Mystic, this eye-opening book introduced me to John the Activist and brought a more holistic vision of John into focus. By bringing John's courageous justice efforts into the foreground, in other words, a point I made swiftly in the previous video, all four paths stand out with John, and Via Transformativa is staring you in the face. Why was he put into prison and tortured for 9 months? Because he and Teresa of Avila, who had enlisted him in this effort, were trying to reform the Carmelite order in the middle of Spanish's empire century, the 16th century, when, of course, the Spanish were coming to the Americas and God knows where else all, and killing the indigenous people, etc., etc. So it needed a hell of a lot of reformation. Teresa and John were to Spain what Martin Luther was to Germany. But the Inquisition was so strong in Spain in the 16th century, they wouldn't let the Lutherans anywhere near Spain. Only John and Teresa were really, well, and they had allies in the Carmelite order, but also enemies, obviously. But they were carrying the fight. So the Via Transformativa is often ignored by commentators on John the Cross. It's unbelievable. One priest commentary actually wrote that wonderful poem that I shared with you, the high point, really, of his canticle about he's looking for his beloved everywhere, and then the beloved is the mountains. Well, what this priest theologian wrote was, he doesn't mean that. He means God is like the mountains. Poets are careful about their language. If John wanted to say God is like the mountains, he would have said it. He didn't. It's a via positiva statement. God is the mountains and the refreshing waters and the silent solitude and all this and the meal that refreshes, etc. So she's going on. By bringing John's courageous justice efforts into the foreground and recasting John's exquisite poetry as prison literature, because I have a whole chapter up front in the book about prison literature, and how many of our great mystics, from Dorothy Day to Paul to so many, and of course John the Cross, Eldridge Cleaver had his awakening in prison and so forth, and of course Daniel Berrigan, who the 10th anniversary of his death was this week. And I actually sent the book to an advance copy to John Deere, who is a Catholic priest who was very close to Berrigan. He was the next generation behind him in the Jesuit order. And John Deere also went to jail a lot for nonviolence protest. And the Jesuits kicked him out eventually, kicked him out of the order. But he found a liberal bishop in New Mexico that took him in. So he's still a Catholic priest. But I sent him the book and for review. And one that he wrote back and said, wow, you bring Dan Berrigan into it. Well, of course, Dan Berrigan in prison wrote an essay, actually a book, where he invokes John the Cross. So he too is part of prison literature. And by the way, John Deere, he hasn't finished his blurb yet, but he said, your book is a masterpiece and I'm just loving it. And I'm so glad you bring Berrigan in and you'll be getting your blurb very soon. By bringing John's courageous justice efforts into the foreground and recasting John's exquisite poetry as prison literature, Fox illumines the direct but often hidden path between activism and mysticism and affirms their cosmic unity. Then Fox lovingly guides us through John's transformative story, blazing a trail for today's mystic activists to encounter and embody the beloved in the midst of our individual and collective dark nights of the soul. As I moved through this book, I found myself breathing more deeply and fully, as I was reminded that the path of justice, though often painful and disillusioning, is also profoundly ripe with mystical hope, cosmic courage, and an embodied wisdom that only poetry can convey. I was so thrilled when I got that affirmation because I respect her so much, and she's speaking from her African American experience, and she just got it. She got everything I'm trying to do with it, because this book, it's a revolution. And you know, Brian Swim said recently in one of our dialogues, he said, you know, the four paths are a revolution. You know that, don't you? He said. So bringing the four paths to John the Cross and getting a response like that kind of thrills me, because it just affirms so much of the direction, of the impact that the four paths can have. This is a thoroughly new interpretation of John the Cross that he ought to have had in the first place, being the author of the poetry and the author of his life decisions that put him in prison in the first place. But he didn't have the theology to deal with it. He didn't have the language of the four paths. So we are in a new era where even our greatest mystics, and John, you know, has been declared a doctor of the church around mysticism. Mysticism is kind of his title. So this amounts to a reinvention of Christianity. Not just that we bring the mystics back, but that we bring them back with a hermeneutic, an interpretation, a method that allows them to come alive even to themselves. So I put much more stress in my book on his poetry, spend much more time with his poetry than I do with his commentaries. I bring in his commentaries, I read them all more than once, but for us to drink from that well, and the mystics are oases for us to drink from while we're in the desert of resistance and of struggle and of evil and the Antichrist surrounding us and invading our souls and our country at this time in our world. We need all the help we can get. And John the Cross is one such helper. And I point out that even the theology John got in the 16th century at the University of Salamanca, which was one of the better universities at that time. Père Chanou, my mentor, whom I've just finished a major book on, he talked about the decadence of Thomism in the 16th century. Quote, 16th century Thomists lost the eminent spiritual equilibrium of their master, namely Aquinas, which would have enabled them to understand, assess, and assimilate the rational values of this second Renaissance. The first Renaissance for Chanou was the 12th century, the time of Hildegard, actually, and the Gothic Revolution, and the beginning of the birth of Francis and Dominic and their new kind of order, leaving the corrupt monasticism behind. Not that Marxism is always corrupt, but at that time it was extremely privileged and in bed with the feudal system. Feudal system was going out of business, it was dying, and so religion was dying with it until Francis and Dominic saw a new vision. Why did this happen? Chanou says, their theology had lost a spirit of daring as well as its original freshness, and had forgotten the need of continual discovery. So that is Chanou's statement about the theological moment in which John of the Cross studied theology. And remember, I alluded in a previous talk to how theologians who dared preach on the Song of Songs, a book in the Bible, were literally locked up. One of John's professors was put in prison for 5 years for daring to comment, to lecture on the Song of Songs. But John, it shows his courage that he said, well, I'll create my own Song of Songs. And his canticle is named after it, and it follows a lot of the canticle in the Bible. Another great historian, medieval historian, Etienne Gilson, says that scholasticism of the Renaissance can be said to have failed completely insofar as it opposed the Renaissance instead of assimilating it and taking a spiritual direction from it. Why? Well, same reasons that Chanou gave. So there you have it. John didn't have the best education possible in the 16th century, but frankly and bluntly, when it came to spirituality, no one did, because they were following Plotinus and Proclus, 3 paths. And who were they? They were rich young men who came to Rome and saw the corruption there. Fine, good. So for them, they had to go through purgation first. It doesn't mean the rest of us have to. We're not rich people showing up in Washington at the doorstep of the Pentagon or the Supreme Court or the White House. So we don't begin with purgation. We begin with love of existence, the via positiva, love of creation. And it makes all the difference. The same is true of so many other mystic prophets that we praise. So I know I'm not supposed to talk so long, so maybe I should stop now. I am excited about this John the Cross book, and the more responses I'm getting to it than individuals who've seen it in events, the more excited I'm getting, because I think it really shows the breakthrough that creation spirituality offers, and the revolution, as Brian Sim calls it. And so I'm also working on this book on Christianity 3.0, a course I taught for 24 weeks for Shift this past year. Some of you were probably in it. One of the students, the last day, said, I was going to call it Christianity 2.0, but no, she said you should call it 3.0. And I think she's right. Because in the 4th century, when Christianity took over the empire and created the Nicene Creed under the call of the emperor, Constantine, everything shifts so thoroughly from the original church that we've been running. And then that very same century is when original sin showed up, that language never before used, nowhere in the Bible, because Augustine lived at that time. And so those 2 hits that Christianity got, inheriting the empire, which was a mixed blessing, you might say, a mixed blessing. On the one hand, it's a good deal to be out from under a gladiatorial status in the catacombs. Whew, glad that's over. On the other hand, it didn't take long before Christians were doing the same things to others, including, of course, the Jewish people. So it was a very mixed blessing for the church, that is, for those who claim to be speaking in the name of Jesus. As Chanou puts it, he says, Christendom was a great accomplishment, but Christendom is not the church. And that's why he was so instrumental in Vatican II, and so pleased that they redefined church not as Christendom, but as people of God. And Chanu, especially toward the end of his life, started defining church or people of God as all humanity, beginning with Adam, if you will. That all humanity is the mystical body of the Christ, and not just those who claim to be in charge of an institution.
Matt,
So
you have us
I'll
just.
shut up here.
I
What's that?
Matt, I cannot wait for November. Is there any chance the book would be published before that? We can get our hands on it before that.
Well, it is possible because I got the corrections back very fast to the editors at Monkfish, and so it's in. He told me that it's actually going to press soon. So that seems to me that it's possible, but I can't answer those things. I could inquire. I'll take your question and say that there's this interest out there and all that.
We have a Creation Spirituality gathering scheduled for October 30th, 31st, and November 1st, where you'll be speaking, you and Brian Swim. And it would be so good if we had some copies of that book in Louis.
Yeah, I mean, usually books do come out at least a couple of weeks before the stated publishing date.
Well,
but as to your question, this could come out even a little earlier, I think, too. But I'll ask them. And Dennis, are you there, Dennis? Or here, I should say. Is Dennis on board? Is Dennis here? He said that he wanted to start selling the book in advance so that people would pay for it and then they'd be the first ones to get it when it came out. So there would be no delay.
Right.
So
that was an option. That was an option on the email that Dennis sent. There was a button where we could
okay.
On the email that went out, we could, because I've already ordered mine.
Yes, you
Great.
you can pre-order, but as far as the publisher goes, it's still November the 10th until we hear no more.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Maybe they can be in the St. Louis. I'll try.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matt. This has just been fabulous to have you. I can't believe how prescient you were in that talk last June and how relevant all the work you've done on the John of the Cross book now is for us. And we aren't facing exactly the kinds of imprisonment and difficulties that John had, but we're sort of marching there. Maybe some people are. Those immigrants who've been put in detention centers, they are living that. So
there you go. A marvelous connection there.
Yeah.
But in one way, we have to look at it more largely in terms of democracy itself, in terms of, and so ironic that this is the 250th anniversary of our Constitution, so forth. I think, from the point of view of society itself, remember that Rabbi Heschel is the one who said that we shouldn't talk about just the dark night of the soul, but the dark night of society. And so that's why I'm talking about the dark night of democracy in America and many other places, and also the dark night of Mother Earth. Matricide, the killing of the mother, is coming to a height with the denial and with many decisions being made to pretend that that climate change is not happening, or that it's, quote, a hoax, as our president has put it. So we don't want to think, we don't want to think just in terms of the individual, but in terms of how we are a network. That's what a mystical body is. And that's what our species is. We are a network of beings, human beings, of course, in alliance with all these other beings that make our lives possible. So it's like our prison is bigger than John of the Crosses was at this time. And to me, it's not less severe. I mean, what the Supreme Court just did is going to have reverberations for decades, according to experts, in terms of American elections, et cetera, et cetera. And so many decisions are being made that are sadistic, just like John's brothers who were beating him daily in a sadistic fashion. They don't underestimate the appeal of sadism within the patriarchal structure and worldview. And, you know, Erich Fromm did a lot of study of that after the Holocaust. And of course, he was Jewish and had a reason for doing it, a very good reason for doing it. But he came to the conclusion that the basis of sadism is self-hatred. And you can see it when you get to know the stories of a Donald Trump and the way his father treated him, or of Adolf Hitler and the way his father treated him, etc. So this is where a movement beyond self-hatred, and certainly Jesus brings that in when he says, love others as you love yourself, that and the love we receive from nature, just like John did, from the mountains and the soil and the other animals, and what science is telling us today about how this earth came into being. All that has something to do with love. It has something to do with welcoming us. So the move from original sin to original blessing is, I think, another strategy for putting self-love first in the healthy way of self-love. And from that, we love others. So loving others as ourselves. So we love our existence. We love all that the 13.8 billion years that brought us here. So science is on board too. So we have all these possibilities of putting goodness and blessing first. But we have to move beyond self-hatred that is taught us, I think, very often at a very early age in a patriarchal system.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
the
Thank
invite.
you. Lori will, I guess, pick up the slideshow and do our closing, our official closing.
Okay, we have a few slides left, but in the interest of time, you can donate at any time, please, to cscommunities.org. I'm going to go ahead and ask us all to bless each other as we leave. So remain on gallery. We don't need the slides for this.
Okay.
Make sure you're on mute and put both of your hands over your heart and repeat this blessing after me. The truth of my being is as radiant as a star.
The truth of my being
is
is
as
radiant as a
as a
star.
star.
The love within me is stronger than any other force in the universe.
The love
The love
within
within
me
me is
is
stronger
than
than
any
any
other
other force in the universe.
I am a beloved blessing of the Creator.
I am
a loving blessing of the Creator.
Okay, now you unmute yourself. Keep one hand on your heart, but put one hand out so that you can bless each and every one of us as we get ready to leave. And repeat after me. The truth of your being is as radiant as a star.
The truth of your being is as
radiant as a star.
You are a beloved blessing of the Creator.
You are a beloved blessing
of Creator.
All right, what I want you to do now is we're going to take our candles and send the light forward to each and everyone here as a blessing as we extinguish this flame while our connection remains in spirit. Thank you all so much for attending tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Yes, next month.
Matt, we love you.
Love you, Matt.
Thank you.
Love you, Matt.
It's so good to see you.
Oh, God.
Blessings, Matt.
Yes, thank you for being here.
You be blessed always.
Blessing to you all.
Don't have her. Oops.
Louise, I hope you got to hear it. I hope your sound was okay.
Hope it was too.
Yeah, Louise had trouble and I was trying to help her. Then she put a message in the chat that said she could hear, so she was okay.
Oh, good, good, good.
I hoped everything was okay for her.
Cheryl, it was really nice to see you tonight.
Oh, yes. Boy, I was so glad that Cheryl showed up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Hi, you guys. Oh, so nice to be with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
Appreciated all your text messages too.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Oh,
You guys, we're gonna go for a walk. The sun is shining here.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I think I need to
good,
take
good.
off too.
For you, Cheryl. Bless you, honey.
All
School
right.
is ending soon. It's
I
May.
think we have 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Oh
Oh,
my
good.
God. 6
Oh,
weeks.
good.
Okay.
You can make
Okay.
it.
A
You
while.
can
I
make it.
can make it.
You can make it. You can do
You
this.
guys, love you all.
Okay. Love you too, honey.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
We still got Louise's little doggy there.
Oh my God. What an adorable little, that doesn't even look real.
I don't
No.
think it is real.
It was. It was. She said, he's gone now, but she said that dog was her dog for
Yeah, I
real,
heard her
not a
say that,
plush
but then
dog.
it sounded like she said something about something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I have a dinner engagement, so
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
peel off here.
Wait,
But I thought it was a
oh
really
my
good
God.
time.
Hold on.
All right. Thanks, Carolyn.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.